Some NFL news broke this morning that I think could have some really big implications for Atlanta in a positive way that I want to share on today's episode. But really quick, before free agency gets going next Monday, we are doing a subscriber battle with our Saints channel here at Chat Sports. Let's take them down. Click that sub button down below. Help us erase this deficit. So earlier this morning, the Bears traded for Chiefs guard Joe Thuney. And this might not seem like it's a big deal for the Falcons, but stick with me because I think this does have a really big trickle-down effect that ends with Atlanta. Now, this is not the first time the Bears have traded for a guard. They've actually traded for two guards in the last 48 hours. Joe Thuney, four-time Super Bowl champ between the Patriots and the Chiefs, and Jonah Jackson from the Rams. The reason why I think this could be great news for Atlanta is now that Chicago has made two seismic moves to beef up their interior offensive line, they may not have the, I wouldn't say cash, because they still could sign a player to that level of, say, a Drew Dalman, but they may not feel the urgency to go out and make another seismic move for both their guards and their center. So Chicago could be out of the running for Dalman, which I think would be great news for Atlanta. Because if you know any Bears fans, just ask them what has been the most popular name for Bears free agent targets, and Drew Dalman's going to come up in one of the first names they say. Jeremy Fowler, coming out of Indianapolis, the Combine, said the sense is Chicago will sign at least one interior offensive lineman. Drew Dalman, 49ers guard Aaron Banks, and Colts guard Will Fries are among players on the radar. I just Googled Drew Dalman Bears, and you'd think he was already on the Bears roster. All these articles talking about how the Bears could be in pursuit of Dalman. My money is on, after trading for Joe Thuney, who's entering the final year of his contract, and my suspicion is Chicago will give him a contract extension after giving up a fourth-round pick for him, and trading for Jonah Jackson, which isn't as expensive as Thuney, but still, you're giving us some draft capital. Chicago's probably feeling like, you know what? We've got two good guards now. We can kind of stick anyone in at center, and working next to Thuney, they're not going to be some hideous disaster. So this doesn't eliminate the chance that Chicago goes after Dalman, but I think that's a big overkill. To trade for two guards, give up a fourth and a sixth, take on their contracts, give out an extension, and then on top of that go, yeah, these guards aren't quite good enough on their own. We need to then go out and sign Drew Dalman, make him top 3 highest paid center in football. I feel like the probability of Chicago pursuing Dalman to an aggressive point of making him one of the highest paid guards in football probably just went down. Doesn't mean another team might not pursue Dalman, but the Bears were always at the top of the Drew Dalman watch list. And with them kind of being out of the race now, I think this is a good news kind of item for the Falcons because that's one less team the Falcons have to compete with in free agency. Because if it turns into a bidding war, Atlanta's going to lose a bidding war. I just reading the tea leaves, everything I heard at the Combine, the Falcons want Dalman back, but they are certainly behaving like a team that is quietly bracing for losing Dalman. And maybe that's because they thought all along the Bears are going to come in and they're going to make Drew Dalman the second highest paid center in football, maybe even push for Creed Humphrey's $18 million a year. And while I like Drew Dalman, and I don't think that'd be like an awful overpay, the Falcons being $5 million over the salary cap as it is, probably aren't going to have deep enough pockets to go. So the Bears just offered you $16 million a season. We'll give you $17 million. No, my money is on the Falcons go, we'll give you $13 to $15 million. If you can get more money elsewhere, we're happy for you. No hard feelings. But we're not going to start going back and forth in a bidding war where each of us keep raising paddles and the value just keeps going up and up and up. No, Atlanta, I would hope, makes an offer, a fair offer. They don't try to lowball him and see if he'll take like a $8 to $9 million contract. If they give him 13 to 14 and he says, yeah, I want to stay put, I think we're really building something here, I'll bypass an extra $1 million for a much worse team, then sweet. And hopefully with Chicago maybe not being so aggressive in pursuit of another interior offensive lineman, Dalman doesn't get an offer close to 16 or at 16 million, and he takes Atlanta's offer of 14 or 15 million dollars a year, and the Falcons bring back their starting center. So I want to hear from you though. Do you think at the end of the day Atlanta will re-sign Dalman? Give me a yes or no in the comment section. This is the pinned comment, so scroll on down and let me know. As I've been saying though, the Falcons should actively try to bring back Dalman. I don't believe he is this like perennial Pro Bowl center that we just can't live without, but they should make more than just like an effort. They should do more than just the bare minimum. This should be high up on their priority list, but it's not someone that no matter what another team offers, you match. I like Dalman as a center, and I always hate when moments like this in free agency pop up where you have to start almost bashing the guy to rationalize why you don't want to pay him all that much money. But he missed a good chunk of games last year, although it was an ankle sprain. I don't expect that to be like a reoccurring injury like some kind of soft tissue injury would be, or like an ACL or something like that. But I don't think he is viewed as an irreplaceable player. And I'll add more to that in just a second. But first things first, quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is PrizePicks. You see, PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Plus, they call the Peach State home. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players. Basketball season is heating up, and PrizePicks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Let me give you an example of what some selections look like over at PrizePicks, with the month of March being a pretty exciting month in the sports world. Have some more fun by picking more or less on some of these selections right here. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Once more, download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Now, as I was saying, I like Drew Dalman a lot. If I'm the Falcons, I want to live in a world where Drew Dalman is my starting center. Let's not get that twisted. But there is a price, and I think Dalman is shown to be an elite, like borderline, like great to elite run blocking center. But his pass blocking is average. And hey, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that as some big negative. You can have a player with splits like this where they are a standout run blocker and they hold their own against the pass. But if they're just going to be average at one of those two, I don't think Atlanta's going to go, well, we've got to give this guy 17 or 18 million because that's what the Bears or some other team are going to give him. No, the Falcons are going to come up with a number, and if he can get more elsewhere, then that's probably going to be the end of Dalman in Atlanta. But looking at the interior offensive line, Bergeron continues to get better and better. Lindstrom is a top 3 guard in football, and with Zach Martin retiring, it might be down to Quentin Nelson and Chris Lindstrom for the best guards in football at this point. So my suspicion is the belief in Atlanta would be we don't have to give Drew Dalman $18 million to get good center play. We might be able to turn out a better roster if we just bring back Ryan Neuzil, who is a restricted free agent, get him for $13 to $14 million a season cheaper than Dalman, and then take that $13 to $14 million and add it to our defense, right? Try to maybe trade for someone like Trey Hendrickson, and then you've got some extra money to give him a new contract or sign a free agent, sign a corner, safety, whatever it may be. And from a pure roster construction standpoint, that might be a better deal with Neuzil at center and 2 to 3 new starters on defense versus Dalman at center and maybe just 1 new starter on defense because a lot of money went to him. Now, I say all this, and I don't want people to leave this video with the impression of, oh, you pay Drew Dalman $15 million a year. That's $15 million you can't spend elsewhere. No, you can easily structure a contract where the cap hits are towards the end of the contract. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what they do. They are trying to maximize their current spending every year. And if that means that in 5 years they've got to pay the piper and they've got, I don't know, Reed, probably like one, maybe two Super Bowl rings to show for. Reed, would you sign up for that deal? You make that deal? I make that deal. Like the Inglourious Bastard scene. I make that deal right there. Yeah, so probably not a bad way to go about things. And I'd rather have a front office that's aggressive, and if it doesn't work out, at least they tried, versus a front office like the Bengals where we're poor. We have to sell TVs to just pay our bills. And that's not the case for Atlanta with Arthur Blank. So I think overall, the Bears trading for not one, but two interior offensive linemen is probably an indication they may not be in heavy pursuit of Dalman, which could help make a return to Atlanta easier. One other piece of, let's say, good news, kind of just a combo, if you will, that I saw earlier today was Dane Brugler, who I got to meet at the NFL Combine. Great guy, does an excellent job of covering the NFL draft. He put out his post-Combine mock draft, and a lot of the big NFL draft gurus after the Combine have a much better feel of where guys are roughly going to go. They may not get the team right, but they're going to know roughly where in rounds one they end up. Top 5, 15 to 20, last 5 picks, somewhere in that range. And Will Johnson, pre-Combine mock draft for Brugler, was 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I talked about Johnson before, and I always said it'd be a bit of a pipe dream if he fell to Atlanta at 15, given he's going number 5 in a pre-Combine mock draft. However, in the post-Combine mock draft, he went past 15. In Brugler's mock, he had Atlanta going with Jalen Walker, the edge. I don't think he's an edge. He's a linebacker. I don't know many edge rushers that are 6'1", 243 pounds. So he had Johnson, though, going all the way to 17, and the Falcons passing on Johnson. And this gives us a little bit more probability of maybe Will could be there when the Falcons are approaching their selection. Here's what The Athletic wrote on the Michigan corner. Dane Brugler has noted that scouts are mixed on Johnson, with his long speed a major concern. If he runs a fast 40 at Michigan's Pro Day, that could change. Prior to a disappointing 2024, many considered him the best corner prospect since Sauce Gardner. I am willing to lead the charge on the Will Johnson slander campaign and put out videos and pictures of him with bongs and gas masks on his face if he means he falls to 15. I'll say this to everyone picking 1 through 14. It'd be criminal if you took a player coming off a turf toe injury. It should be a Geneva violation for him to go picks 1 through 14 after that 2024 injury. And if it means Atlanta has to bite the bullet and take one for the team and take him at 15, that's fine. The Falcons, I think, should, humbly accept that responsibility. But Will Johnson is my number 1 draft target for Atlanta. With some balance of realism for who could really be there at 15, I would be over the moon happy. I know this team desperately needs help at edge rusher. The good news is it's a deep edge rusher class. I think you can get a quality pass rusher in round 2. I just believe Johnson is going to be a frequent Pro Bowler in the NFL. I'm willing to look at that 2023 season and go, yep, that sold it for me. I know 2024 wasn't fantastic because he missed a good chunk of the year, over a half of the year, but oh man, only 2 interceptions and 2 pick sixes in 2024. What a down year it was for him. I don't care. I'm going to trust the tape. Now, I think it's fair to point the long speed concerns. Didn't run the 40 at the Combine. A lot of players prefer to run the 40 at their pro day. I think it's Ohio State that secretly has like a 39.5-yard, 40-yard dash. Like, there's always some level of hometown bump when you do your 40 at your school instead of like at your pro day instead of in Indianapolis. Maybe the turf is a little bit faster at your pro day at home. So yeah, you test better and you're more comfortable in natural state. Plus, I gotta envision that the nerves are way calmer when you're not in like this weird like Speedo kind of outfit and everyone's watching. All 32 teams are there. So I think that there are some benefits to doing a pro day 40 instead of at the NFL Combine. But listen, if Johnson falls to 15, I am running it in. I know that does not fix the pass rush help. And I understand that if you want to improve the defense, the best way to do that is to get after the quarterback. But I'm so dug into this belief that in 4 years, when we do a redrafting the 2025 NFL draft, Will Johnson's going to go way higher than he does in April if he does fall to 15. So, who do you want to see fall to 15? Like, who's a player that you're seeing go more around like 8 to 12, and you're like, I would love it if that guy was available for the Falcons at 15. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, 2 videos ago, I said, hey, if you want to be a part of the wheel spin at the end, comment me in the comment section. And I picked 6 people out of there. So let's see who's going to get 2 claps for being the lucky wheel spin winner of today's show. Spin that wheel. Here we go. Who's going to win the absolutely grand prize of 2 claps? It is... Oh, I don't know, Jim. Oh, poor John. Fatted and fading? Faded and fading. That's how you spell. Okay. All right, 2 claps for Double F. 1, 2. Appreciate everyone for still watching and tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with our live show.